Joining us now is CBS News legal analyst Jack Ford. Jack, good to see you here this morning.
Good to see you.
Ms. Pettway, she'll appear in court today. What charges is she looking at now?
We're going to look at federal kidnapping charges. And in the federal scheme of things, kidnapping is one of the top charges you can get. Interestingly, there was no federal kidnapping offense until after the Lindbergh kidnapping, which took place back in the early 30s. And at that time, actually, authorities found themselves unable to handle that case the way they would have liked to. And that was the genesis of kidnapping statute. It's a significant crime in the federal scheme of things, a range of 10 years to life in prison if somebody's convicted.
Jurisdictions, there are a few at play here right now, and that could complicate things just a little, right?
It could, but I think what you're going to see happening is this. The child was kidnapped here in New York City, so New York might look at it. New York has some statute of limitations problems, the way theirs is set up. Statute of limitations basically means there's a time period within which you have to be prosecuted. They have to start a prosecution. Usually it starts from the day of the event. A simple illustration, an armed robbery takes place out on the street. From that day, that time, statute starts to run. But the reason I think you'll see it in the federal system, and right now the feds have said we're going to start off with it, is the statute of limitations hasn't run because she was under 18 at the time, and this was a continuing offense. So I think even though all of them have a piece of something, ultimately you're going to see the federal authorities here in New York City will probably handle the prosecution.
And when you say this was a continuing offense, is that because she wasn't returned, that she actually escaped on her own, so to speak? Yeah,
I mean, because you start off, and if in fact she had been kidnapped and 2 years later got out and returned, well, the statute probably would have run, at least would have been argumentative at that point in time. But because she didn't, and because she was a child, an infant when it all happened, it should not be a problem for the federal authorities.
As far as defending Ms. Pettway, how do you see this playing out?
It's hard, because if you look at just the facts on the surface, you say, how can there be a defense? She took somebody else's child. There doesn't seem to be any real doubt about it, that she knew she was taking somebody else's child. There might be some facts we don't know about. If I'm her lawyer, the first thing I'm going to take a look at is what was her mental state at the time. We've seen some situations over the year, very sad stories, where somebody either lost a child, and there's some suggestion that she was pregnant, lost a child, or for whatever reason they were just driven to a state, a mental state, that they weren't responsible for what they were doing, or as responsible. So if I'm her lawyer, I'm going to take a good hard look at what was going on in her mind at the time. Might it be enough to be an absolute defense, an insanity defense that's successful here? They're always hard to do. But you know what it might be? It might be a mitigating factor. Because, as I said, the range of sentencing is so large here, and could be as much as life in prison. If you're the defense lawyer, you're looking for something here that you could argue.
All right, Jack, thank you very much.
All right, Chris, good seeing you.
All right.